first exam is going to be in your respective classes Friday, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, just depends. So with this in mind, it's going to basically be 3 chapters plus the ideology stuff that we talked about today in both your classes. 1, 2, and 3 are going to be the chapters. The ideology is just basically these 4 terms that are down here at the bottom. There's no chapter for it. It's just, pretty straightforward with those 4 terms. I don't have all the articles posted yet, but I will have all of them up today. And then I'm also going to take the clip from the filming today, and I will have this posted as well. Now what you hopefully will have noticed, if you've gone into the links, all of the 4 classes that I have, actually 3 of the 4 classes that I have done round robins. One of you did the budget, one of you did freedom, order, and equality, one of you did the Constitution. You should have every class's round robin up there. So definitely take a look at that within the links, because that should be pretty good as far as giving you some pointers, giving you some facts, things like this. You got the 2 Schoolhouse Rock cartoons, which are posted in the links in my MC, so you should be able to view those. I've got 2 links that I just talked to kind of make up some time in class. One was the difference between the budget and the deficit, and then the other one was just a little bit from Chapter 2 of the Constitution. So definitely take a look at the links. And then the high-speed car chase that we talked about today is up there. You've got the terms, and then you've got the articles, and then you've got the study questions. Why don't we start with the terms, since this might be the first time that y'all have really seen a lot of these. Yeah, Nate, go ahead.
Red Robin? I don't want to be on the TV or the internet. What's the Red Robin?
The round robin, it was, I believe you filmed that day.
Oh,
your class did the budget.
Go around.
Yeah, when people went around, and there's some really good facts, and each class had a different one, so that should be something that will help you. I'm going to look at those again today and make sure that I've got those represented in there. Okay. But based on Chapter 1, did y'all have any questions about any of the terms? Yeah, go ahead. 111. 111. Anybody remember 111 from Chapter 1?
111 straight peaceful elections.
Yeah, 111 peaceful, either presidential or midterm elections since the founding of the country. That's right. President Obama, his election was the 111th. This year we'll have 112. Anything else from the terms from Chapter 1? Go ahead.
What about politicians and presidential elections? Do you want us to know?
Definitions. Those were just straight definitions when you think back to it. So if you remember, I think we had started off with, we had used political science, we had used politics, we had used politicians. Politics, if you remember, it was basically the processes by which people rule themselves. So it was talking about the way that they elect or select their leaders. Politics was talking about, if you remember, was talking about how they formulate their policies. And I had given you several articles, if you'll remember, as examples of politics. And that was really where we had started on the first day. Do you remember those 3 articles?
The Catholic school teacher.
Catholic school teacher, that was a good one. The eggs was the other one, yeah.
The eminent domain?
One, the eminent domain, not yet. It was the marriage one. The marriage one that was talking about North Carolina, alienation of affection. What do you guys remember about the Catholic school teacher?
She got pregnant and she's not married and they fired her.
Okay, she got pregnant, she's not married, they fired her, she decided that she was going to have the child as a Catholic school teacher. What was the problem?
She signed a contract that said she would do that.
She signed a contract that said she would specifically do what?
Not different.
She signed a contract that said, I'm not going to get pregnant. Follow the Catholic. She was going to uphold the Catholic doctrines or the Catholic teaching. So she had signed a contract that said she would uphold Catholic doctrines and teachings. She got pregnant out of wedlock, which violated that, and the school basically said, we reserve the right to fire you. So she sued. What were some of her arguments as far as her lawsuit?
That men, if it was a man that got some other woman pregnant,
okay,
it wouldn't matter.
All right, so if it was Carl, and Carl worked at the Catholic school, and he got a girl pregnant,
they weren't married.
And they weren't married, then why would he not be fired? What was the obvious reason?
Nobody would have known if he didn't say anything.
Okay, he's not going to show, but the woman would obviously show. That was one. So there was an equality argument to this. You had a freedom argument to this, which basically says, you know what, she was a good teacher, so she should be allowed to do in her personal life what she wanted, as long as it didn't affect her ability to teach. And then you had the order argument, if you will, in the sense that the Catholic school would set their doctrines, and they wanted to enforce these doctrines. Was she ultimately reinstated, or was her termination approved? Her termination was approved because of that contract clause. Absolutely. What do you remember, since nobody seemed to get it before? What was alienation of affection?
Like if you're cheating, if one of your spouses cheats with somebody else.
So you have multiple spouses, and if one of them cheats.
If your spouse cheats with somebody else, like you can sue the person that they cheated with.
Okay, what's the gist? What's the logic behind this? Why would they do that?
Because like when you get married, like you sign a contract to like not like to be with them or whatever. And
Okay.
when they break that contract and cheat on you with somebody else, then like that other person's like taking their love away from you.
Okay, yeah, when you think about it, marriage is a contract, and particularly when you're dealing with the wife back in the day, because this was a law that had been passed years and years ago in North Carolina, the wife was the husband's property. So if the wife, for example, were to cheat with another man, then that person, that man that she was cheating with, was effectively stealing the husband's property guaranteed in the marriage contract. And the property wasn't the woman herself, but he was stealing the love that the woman was giving to the man. Hence, they call it alienation of affection. So what can happen if you... give me some scenarios where you could be in trouble under alienation of affection. Go ahead.
You go out on town, you're drunk, you meet with somebody you don't know, come back.
Has this happened before? This is really specific, Carl. Okay.
And you know, then you get served like a few weeks later.
You get served. Okay, well.
And you're not even sure what her name is.
Maybe this is a different article, but I think I kind of get the gist of what you're saying. Go ahead, Mike.
You go out of state. Well, you go to a state that doesn't have that law.
Or that does have that law.
Or that does have the law.
Yeah, you go to a state that does have that law. So, for example, if you're in Maryland and you hook up in that scenario that you talked about with another Maryland citizen, are you at risk at all?
Yeah.
No, because there's no Maryland law dealing with alienation of affection. I think there are only like 6 or 7 states that had it. So, for example, if you go to North Carolina where they have alienation of affection and you hook up with a woman that is married to another man, are you now subject to this?
Yeah.
Yes. If a woman from North Carolina comes to Maryland and hooks up with you here and she's married, are you subject to this? Yes, actually you would be, because her, as a citizen of North Carolina, she could conceivably use this, or maybe more importantly, her husband, as a citizen of North Carolina, could use this against you. So understand, it's important to know where he or she is from, number one. Number two, you really need to make sure they're married, because even if it's an honest mistake, you could be subject to penalties. And what were these penalties? What's that? You're going to pay some money. You remember how much? How much is she worth, Elaine? That's the question,
It
right?
went up to like $1 million. That one case that you were talking about, like there was one that went up to $1 million.
I think that one case was over $2 million. Over $2 million. So it's not used. What is it typically used for? Are they really getting cash money out of this, or are they doing something else?
Leverage.
Yeah, they're leveraging. Basically, they're suing, and they're going to, the husband would go to the wife and say, look, I'm going to sue your boy over here that you're cheating with if you don't give me the house and custody and the pets and things like this. And then typically they'll do it, because if they're able to sue the boy over there, then indeed that relationship that the wife has cheated on is now going to be gone, when you think about it. So that's basically what's going on. Alienation of affection is a really good one. The Catholic school teacher one was a really good one. Politicians were basically, to go back to your question, the actors within the government. And then when you think about political science is the study of all of it. It's going to be the institutions, it's going to be the processes, it's going to be how we select leaders, it's going to be how we make policies and laws, and it's going to be the study of those actors that are basically within the government. So those are pretty much just straight definitions. What else have you got from chapter 1? Go ahead, Rick.
I have a question about the who.
Who? Who is talking about the Declaration of Independence. And I had put up there, I believe it was 2 questions. One was who, and the other one was what. Can somebody explain to me the 3 who's? The 3, it sounds like Dr. Seuss. The 3 who's from the Declaration of Independence. Go ahead, Carl.
Rich white male.
Let me narrow it down a little bit better. Who wrote it? Jefferson wrote it. Who was it written about?
King George.
King George. Who was it written for? What's that? Madison? The people.
For France.
The colony.
It was written for France, or more specifically, if you will, it was written for people that would help. Alliances, potential alliances. What was the